welcome to Sarah's Stamper Retreat. Today we're going to be focusing on some tips for ink blending. And the reason I wanted to do this is that ink blending's obviously really popular, you see it everywhere, but I think that it can be quite intimidating if you've never tried it before. So I wanted to go through some basic techniques and just give a few hints and tips for some easy ink blending. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was inks. Now you can try lots of different inks for ink blending, so try whatever you've got on hand. My favourite are these Distress Oxide inks. They're from Ranger Tim Holtz, and there's Distress inks and there's Distress Oxide inks. For me, Distress Oxide is the easiest, so I would start with those. But like I say, if you don't have any of these on hand, try what you've got on hand first. But for me, these are the easiest to blend. And then there are a lot of blending tools out there, but for me, the easiest are these blending brushes. Now, they come from a ton of different manufacturers. These ones are actually makeup brushes. And when I was just first doing it, I bought a set that had loads of different sizes in. You can see these are all from the same set. And then I've got these ones which are from Stampin' Up as well. But for me, this kind of size is the most useful. The head's about 4 centimeters by about 3. It can be useful to have the smaller ones and the bigger ones, but you can see just by the colour of them how much less I use these than the middle-sized ones. I know a lot of people that do ink blending a lot have a different colour for every ink, but if you're just starting out, there's absolutely no need for that. I would start with probably about 3, because then you can use them for different colour groups. You can easily just rinse them with water at the end of your session, and then you'll be ready to go for next time. And then the other thing that we need to cover is paper. So for ink blending, you want a super smooth cardstock. There are lots of brands out there. This one that I'm using today is Nina Solar White cardstock. It's really nice and smooth, but there's plenty of different brands out there. So you can see I don't have a whole ton of these Distress Oxide inks, but I've created a swatch sheet of it, and I've blended these swatches because I don't really use these for stamping very much. For me, it's better to have swatches of these that are blended, and then I know what colour I'm getting. So we're going to start off today with something that I like to do. We're going to create a scene card, and I'm just going to put some of this Salvaged Patina. I'm going to use these 4 across the top to create kind of a background. And for this card, I want my background to be kind of darker in the middle and fade out towards the edges. So I'm going to bring in a really dirty piece of paper to do my ink blending on. It's just to catch the excess ink, so it doesn't need to be anything special. And I'm all for saving the planet, so I'm going to use this plenty of times. So I'm going to use this pine needles first, and I'm going to go in. I'm doing circular motions on here, and you don't need to press really hard. You just want circular motions, nice and light. And then I'm going to start in the centre of my card. It can be good to just test it out on here first. Can you see I'm actually getting a bit of a scratchy look? So I'm just going to give that a bit of a run first, and then I'm going to put it on here. And I'm just going to bend that down a bit as well. And you can see I've got kind of almost like a figure of 8, so I just want to go into that centre bit as well, and just make sure that I'm not missing any colour there. And then I'm going to go around that a little bit with my cracked pistachio as well. So again, I'm going circular motion, and then circular motion. And then as I rub some of that off, I'm just going to come out towards the corners, so it kind of fades out towards the edges a little bit. And then if you want to darken things up, then just add layers. So you don't need to add everything at once, you can kind of build it up in layers, and you get a nice smooth look that way. And because all these are kind of similar shades, I can just make sure that there's no real ink coming off on there, and I can use it again for my broken china. And I'm going to add that towards the bottom and towards the top. And I'm going over that green a bit as well, so that it all blends nicely. Because I want this to be kind of like a nice blend that kind of gives the impression of like a sky and the ground, but I'm not drawing a sky and a ground. I'm just giving the impression of it, so that's why I want a blend which is blue on the top and green on the bottom. And then the final one I'm going to use is Salvaged Patina, and I'm just going to go round the top with that. And then when you've got it covered, you can kind of just go in until you're happy with the blend. So each layer you add is going to make it smoother, but it's also going to make it darker. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of this cracked pistachio just at the bottom to make that a little bit smoother as well. And now I'm happy with how that looks. I've got a bit of kind of like over here that if you were going to be able to see the whole blend, then I would cover that a bit more so that it blends out a bit more. But I'm going to be having a large image that covers a lot of this, so I don't need to worry about that being really covered in the middle. And I think that's another mistake that sometimes people make, is in thinking that a blend's not good enough and they can't use it, when actually on most cards you're going to cover up part of it anyway, so actually you don't notice it, and what can look imperfect at first, actually you won't even notice when it comes to the end. So then I've got these digital images. These are from Polkadoodles, and I'll link them below. So this at the top is what they print out as, that's what they come as, but I've already coloured mine with my alcohol pens. I wanted this to be a focus on the ink blending and not just about watching me colour. So I've got these images coloured, and then I just want to cut them. And a little tip I've got for cutting these images, because I want this one to be cut really close, and I want to be able to see this ink blending through the image, so like through her legs. So I'm going to grab my Stanley knife, and I find it's much easier to cut with the knife before you cut out the main image. So I'm just going to go round, and I'm just using it a bit like a pencil just to cut out this bit in the middle. And this mat that I'm working on is actually a self-healing cutting mat, so it's fine just to cut straight onto that. But obviously if you've not got one of those mats, you want to put something underneath when you're cutting. So I've cut that bit out of the middle, and I'm just going to cut this bit down here as well, because that's going to be difficult to get to with my scissors. Then this bit's come out, and this bit will pop out when I just cut round there with my scissors. So now I'm going to cut round the outside of the image with my scissors. And because these are digital images, you can actually resize them. So mine measures roughly, it's just under 11 centimetres by probably just under 7 centimetres. So you can resize that in whatever program you like to use. I mean, you can even just like use Word or something like that, just input an image. So it's easy just to open it, resize it and print it. And I really like these Polkadoodles images, they're really cute. And I'm not going to worry about this little bit of hair here, I'm going to cut that straight off. So the other thing that we can do that makes a nice finish to these is take a black pen with a brush nib. This is a Stampin' Right marker, but you could use one with a chisel nib, but I find a brush nib a bit easier to get into all of the little bits and pieces. And I like to do this especially when I have used my knife to cut it out, because I'm not quite as accurate with my knife as I am with my scissors. And you can just go round, always go from the back so that if you slip, any marks go on the back, not the front. And it gives a nice kind of like finish to your cutouts. And you might not be able to see how much nicer it looks on camera. All of the little kind of white edges are just disappearing and it just looks really clean. And then I want it to look a bit like she's going shopping, like maybe buying some plants for someone's birthday. So I'm going to create some little shopping bags. And I'm going to use some paper out of this birthday fun paper pack from Polkadoodles. So you can see all the patterns on the front here. It's just a really fun pack. And I'm just going to use this stripy one. And I might use one of these sentiments off this paper as well. So I think I'm just going to freehand cut a couple of bags. And then I've got this twine, it's an old Stampin' Up twine. But obviously you can use any twine you've got on hand. I'm just going to make a little handle like that. So I'm going to pop a couple of glue dots on the back of there. And then I'm just going to create that little handle like that. And what I should have done before I did that, well, I have to kind of botch it a little bit now, is just to run around the edge of here with my black marker, and that'll help it stand off the page and also fit in with the style of the drawing a little bit better. So I think I'll just add 1 or 2 more bags. So I'm just going to add blackened handles to these as well. And then I think I might go with this Let's Celebrate sentiment. So I'm just going to chop that off. And I'm going to use a mixture of foam tape and foam pads to just put this together. So I'm going to use a few glue dots to pop this one down. Let's add a bit of foam tape behind here. And then I'm going to pop this one on with glue dots. And let's put some foam pads on the back of the girl. Then I'm just going to pop a little bit of black around this Let's Celebrate sentiment as well. Just tie it back in with everything else. And then I'm going to cut a little bit of foam tape to fit that. I'm just going to pop that on there like that. And I think to carry on the black lines that we've been putting around everything, I'm just going to create a little border around the outside of the card. And do another one that kind of interlocks with that as well. So there's my card finished. And do you see how you don't even notice any of the imperfections of the ink blending now? You've just got a really nice background. So that would be my final tip on that one, is to not worry too much if your ink blending doesn't look perfect before you put everything on, because once you put everything on, it looks loads and loads better. Then I thought we'd do one more card just to try out some different colours with the ink blending. And this time I thought it would be nice to do a rainbow effect, because we're going to do a magical unicorn card. So for this one, I want to kind of go with like mid-tones, because I want to go with tones that go well together. Because for example, if you mixed the sponge sugar with the broken china, because that's much deeper and that's lighter, you'd lose that one. So I want to use ones that have kind of similar strength to them. So I think I'm going to go with Saltwater Taffy, the Wild Honey. In fact, I might even go Kitsch Flamingo Wild Honey. Then this Cracked Pistachio, Salvaged Patina and the Shaded Lilac, and hopefully those will go together quite nicely because they're of a kind of similar level. And so I'm going to go in that order to create like a rainbow effect. So we'll start at the top with the Kitsch Flamingo. And you'll see again I'm going round on the pink and then round again on here. And you see it kind of gives like a bit of a smoother edge rather than if I went like this, then you'd get a much kind of harsher edge. And then I'm going to swap brushes for the Wild Honey because the pink and the yellow are quite different colours. And that one's really vibrant, so I don't want to go over the pink too much with that because we'll lose the pink. So I'm going to go back over with the pink and just kind of blend along this line. So then I'm going in with the cracked pistachio. And let's just smooth along that edge with just a little bit more of the yellow. I haven't actually picked up any more yellow because the yellow is quite strong and there's still a little bit on the brush. Now I'm going to go Salvaged Patina. And then again I'm going to go back in with the cracked pistachio. So each time I'm kind of going in with the next colour and then going back over the line to blend it in with the colour above it. Just so we're getting nice soft lines between the colours. And then I'm going to go Shaded Lilac. Just to finish off. And then I'll grab some Salvaged Patina and just soften that edge again. And then how nice is that rainbow background? You can see how smoothly the ink's gone on the paper. So then I'm going to take my other image, which is this unicorn. I'm just going to leave a small white border around the edges of this one. I'm not going to cut right up to the line, but I'm just going to use the same technique where I'm going to go in while it's still a whole image and just cut out any kind of bits that are a little bit more difficult to get to with scissors with my knife. And you could absolutely leave these in, but I just think it will just really help that rainbow background come through if we just have these little gaps in the image. And then I can cut around the rest of that image with my scissors. So I think that unicorn looks really cute on that rainbow background. And so then I want to stamp a sentiment, but I want the colour to match this pink from up here. So I'm just going to blend a little bit of pink onto here before I stamp the sentiment. And then I'm going to use this stamp set, which is a super useful stamp set. It's got everything from happy birthday, celebration, to baptism, to Diwali, to Eid, Bar Mitzvah, Thanksgiving. You've even got St. Patrick, St. Andrew, St. George, St. David, and then the apostrophe S is separate, so you can add that to the end, and then day, so you can use the happy with any of those. There's just so many different occasions in there, which I think's fab. So that is the Polkadoodles Great Occasion stamp set. I don't know about you, but I can never have enough sentiment stamp sets, partly because you just need to have sentiments to suit all occasions, and partly because I think like you need different fonts and sizes for different projects. So I love a really good sentiment set like that where you know you're covered for a whole load of occasions. So I'm just lining these two up on here. I'm doing happy birthday, so I'm just lining them up so that I can make sure they're straight. And then I'm going to use my Ultra Jet Black ink. I'm just going to stamp it just over here first, just so I can make sure it's straight. I think the happy might be very slightly above the birthday. Let's just change that a second. Let's try again. Yeah, I'm happy with that now, so let's just stamp that over here. And then I'm going to pop them both up on 2 dimensionals. So I'm going to put a bit of foam tape behind this. And then I'm going to put an extra foam pad at this end. And that will help it stand straight. So then there is our finished card. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's card. If you did, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got new videos available. All of the products that I've used for today's video are listed in the description below, and there's also a link to my blog where you can find a picture list if that makes it easier to find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.